This is Maria from Stop, Listen, Think, and today is October the 31st, and welcome to my Journey series. We are currently in Fort Recovery, Ohio. Two very significant battles in America history took place in Fort Recovery. The first in 1791 on the banks of the Wabash, where Arthur St. Clair suffered a disastrous defeat at the hands of 1,000 to 1,500 warrior Indians. The second, 1794, when Mad Anthony Wayne merely successfully defeated the first against the relentless two-day onslaught of over 2,000 Indians, who were under the command of Little Turtle and Blue Jacket.
Very little was known about Blue Jacket before 1773. He was already a grown man and a war chief in that year. It is said that legendary tales of a man or a boy named Marmaduke Van Sweringen was captured by the Shawnees around 1770, and it was made very popular by a writer of Alan W. Akron in the 1960s, which talked about a young man who had gained such wonderful skills, and the Indians were impressed and that they had made this white boy into an Indian chief. But this is not so. It is still disputed. Even up until recently, there was DNA testing of the descendant of Blue Jacket and Van Sweringen, who had additionally made the argument for Blue Jacket being undoubtedly a Shawnee by birth. The researchers tested the DNA samples of the four descendants from Charles Van Sweringen and Blue Jacket's supposed brother, and then the six descendants of Blue Jacket's son, George Blue Jacket. The DNA from the two families didn't match, and it was concluded that the Shawnee chief was in fact a Native American. So the popular story of him being related to these Dutch settlers is without merit.
General Arthur St. Clair, the territorial governor, made the second attempt with a badly trained army. He marched north from the Fort Washington, Cincinnati, and reached this place on the evening of November 3rd. 1791. Imagine a sight in front of you of over 2,000 Indian warriors and an army led by the Northwest Union. This is strong and tall Nancy, who had red hair, who was holding her baby tight while she was fighting the Indians. She used her frying pan.
The Battle of St. Clair's defeat is also known as the Battle of Wabash, the Battle of Wabash River, or the Battle of the Thousand Slain. This was fought on November the 4th, 1791, in the Northwest Territory between the United States and the Western Confederacy of American Indians as part of the Northwest Indian War. It was a major American Indian victory and remained the greatest defeat in the U.S. Army by the American Indians. The American Indians were led by Little Turtle of the Miamis, Blue Jacket of the Shawnees, and Bucongalias of the Delawares. The war party numbered more than 1,000 warriors, including a large number of Potawatomis of the eastern Michigan and the St. Joseph.
They left over 900 people dead on the field. It was by far the most disastrous battle on this ground. The army was yet to win a war.
Tecumseh was a brilliant chief and warrior and a leader of the Shawnee Nation who advocated intertribal alliances as a means to end the encroachment of the white settlers upon Native American lands. He believed it necessary to have a variety of tribes unite in a single movement to defend their homeland and culture and their ways, indeed their very lives. Although his efforts were vigilant, Tecumseh's pan-Indian vision floundered because of the intertribal disputes and alliances of some tribes with the U.S. territorial government. Tecumseh's warnings about the erosion of traditional tribal values and the loss of Indian lands and cultures were present. The westward expansion of the growing number of European Americans would outrun numerous treaties and land to recurring conflict and violence on the frontier. The appropriation of traditional lands and failure to respect the Native American rights and values has remained as an indelible stand of American history. Tecumseh won the admiration of his great adversaries for his courage, integrity. His long-time adversary, William Henry Harrison, considered Tecumseh to be one of those uncommon geniuses which sprung up occasionally to produce revolutions and overturn the establishment order of things. The Treaty of Greenville was signed at Fort Greenville, now Greenville, Ohio, on August 3, 1795, between a coalition of Native Americans and frontiermen known as the Western Confederacy, and the United States following the Native American loss at the Battle of Fallen Timbers. It put an end to the Northwest Indian Wars. The United States was represented by General Mad Anthony Wayne, who led the victory at Fallen Timbers. In exchange for goods to the value of $20,000, such as blankets, utensils, and domestic animals, the Native Americans turned over the United States large part of modern-day Ohio, the future site of the downtown Chicago, the Fort Detroit area, and Maumee, Ohio area, the lower Sandusky, Ohio area. Native American leaders who signed the treaty included members of the tribes, the Wyandot, Delaware, Shawnee, Ottawatomie, Chippewa, Potawatomi, Miami, Kittapu, and Kashakisha.
It was at this spot that they actually found the original surveyor's stake, which marked the beginning of the Greenville Treaty Line that ran southwardly to the point of the Ohio River opposite of the North Kentucky River. The terms of the treaty were signed on August 3rd, 1795. The land was given up by the Indians. As a note for myself, when I said that the treaty was willingly given up by the Indians, I have to tend to wonder how much of the treaty was actually broken. For an example, the Battle of Wounded Knee, there was an uprising after the demands of that treaty had been gone. They had agreed, the government had agreed to provide shelter, aid, and take care of the Indians. And when this was not done, the Indians had an uprising. Over 300 women, children, and men were killed because of the uprising. About 14,000 years ago, glaciers were in this area and had receded. At one time, this area had been filled with mastodons, giant beavers, which my sister had never heard of, and mammoths. So the ancestor Indians had been more hunters and gatherers. By 800 BC, they were becoming farmers and using pottery. The American Indian tribes living in this region at that time, the Indian Wars were not the originally in this area. The Delaware had been pushed westward into this region by the expansion of the European settlement in the eastern United States. The Ottawa, Potawatomi, and the Wyandot moved southward into Ohio. The Miami entered here from the west, and the Shawnee moved in from the south. Whether new to this land or not, they would fight to defend it. The depression that you see in the land in front of you here is the original Wabash River. Since the 1900s, this river was relocated just west of here. At one time, this used to be a major travel route for the Indians. There used to be a creek on the left that kind of led into this river. It formed a triangular area. The armies came in and took over that triangular area. This is the part that I find most disturbing. As we continue to change Mother Earth, we do it with the weather and we have done it with her lands. This is very heart-hurting to me because we have done so much damage to her natural beauty.
Given a paradise, and we're so lucky to have so many beautiful animals and live in a world that has the possibilities of being a Garden of Eden for us. And the Indians knew that everything, it has to have a balance. When that balance is out of place, then that's when destruction happens, and when there's lack of paying attention and just being the greed of wanting more, we ruin that life on this planet. We have to be better caretakers of the planet because this is the only planet that we have. We have to pay attention to not destroy rainforest and not destroy things that we need to survive for decades to come.
I think every day brings to us a time for us to make decisions about our planet and how we recycle the things that we use.